we look back and say, I think the Celtics had more chances against OKC than we give them credit for. And then we look ahead to a schedule that might be easier, but maybe not as easy as we thought. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. And I got you every day here with a free, fresh podcast that drops directly to your device. All you need to do is subscribe on whichever app that you use. You can also watch the show on YouTube. Hop into the comment section. Let me know what you think. If this is your first time joining the show, I'm John Karalis. I played a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Hey, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Go check it out. FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Today, we're looking ahead to a schedule that some easier opponents on there. The Celtics are, the strength of schedule is kind of in a nice place, but the ping-ponging road and home, I talked a little bit about this on my mailbag podcast. We'll talk a little bit more about it here. We'll take a look back at the OKC game, and we're going to do it with our good friend, Tom Westerholm. Tom, Merry Christmas.
Hey.
Happy New Year. It's been a minute here since we've had you on, but hope you had a nice little holiday season.
Thanks, man. It's pretty good. You as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was good. That Lakers game feels like forever ago.
That was a long time ago. That was 2014, 2013, maybe. It
feels like a long time. It was a long time.
Yeah.
So many things have happened since then, including the Celtics.
Kyrie left.
Yeah. Did you hear that? I mean, it just happened, obviously, because Gordon Hayward was just talking about it on a podcast. So it has to be fresh and new.
I mean, I know we've got like OKC leftovers looking ahead to a tough schedule, but anytime you want to talk about the 2018-19 team and the dumpster fire that was like my first full season on the beat. That was an event.
That's right. Mine too.
Wild. Yeah.
Mine too. I remember standing in that locker room. I think that's when Kyrie said, "Oh yeah, I called up LeBron and was talking to him." I remember all of us like in the locker room were like,
DEFCON 1. That was
everybody just looked at each other, was like, "Did he just say that?"
It was before that season. Didn't before that season he kind of hint that like LeBron might come to Boston somehow? Like I remember there being like that was a storyline that he was. The whole Kyrie experience was a fever dream. It
was. I remember asking him about like the horrible game he had was it game 1 of the Bucks series, maybe?
They won game 1 of the Bucks series, so I don't remember if he was horrible specifically. And because didn't he say
I'm never going to shoot like that again? And then the next game he shot worse.
The next 4 games he shot exactly. Yeah.
So Gordon said what he said, and I really wasn't planning on rehashing it here, but there's literally nothing. Like he said, maybe none of them actually admitted it out loud. Maybe no one has actually said it out loud, but he said what we've been saying. I've been saying that for years now. For years, like, yeah, no one was playing like together. Everyone had something to prove. Like Terry Rozier, I keep saying Terry Rozier was as big a problem as anybody, and you could tell by the way he ethered the entire team. Like 6 hours after the season ended, he's on ESPN. Ridiculous.
He was still in his away jersey from like he was
right, like he was like toweling off out of the shower. He's like, by the way, middle fingers to everybody. Like it's just I don't know. Like I guess Gordon admitted it, and he was like, I guess, but that's nothing. That's nothing that we haven't heard before.
But it's not, and I think it's interesting to note too, like. You watch how those guys interact with each other, right? Like, Marcus Morris, it always seemed like everybody liked Marcus Morris, but it was just like Kyrie, like he left and everybody still greets him in a friendly way.
Yeah.
Like you never got the impression, I mean, like maybe a little bit, but like you never really got the impression that these guys were like on the verge of like, fighting.
I know. Right.
Impression, but you could tell that it was busted. Like it was very clearly busted. And
we were just talking about it in like media dining. The last home game there was against Toronto. Maybe for some reason it came up. We're talking about Kyrie, and it's like the league still, like the players still like Kyrie. I think the players always will like Kyrie Irving as a player, and I think they believe that he is getting a raw deal in some respects, but also I don't think anybody really wants to be his teammate anymore. Like I think there's some of that going on. Like Jaylen will go up and say hi and all of that stuff, but I don't think Jaylen and Kyrie got along as teammates.
No, definitely not. And like, I mean, I think there's some amount of similarity between like Jaylen and Kyrie. Not like it's not 1-to-1. It's not 1-to-1 at all. But just like it was almost like there were certain bits of their personality that I just didn't think could have meshed very well together. Because there were some small things that were kind of similar between the two of them. I felt like. I also think it's just hard with Kyrie when it's like, he came to Boston to be the 1A guy, and the Celtics had a 1A guy waiting in the wings who needed to be, kind of elevated to that point. It's like, I don't know. You can go back and there's like a million different things that didn't work, but I think a lot of it just, like Gordon, I think Gordon kind of hit it on the head. It was like a bunch of guys who on the court were doing their own thing, and then off the court didn't dislike each other, kind of understood because it's like, you look at Gordon, right? Everybody understood what Gordon was trying to do. Everybody understood that Gordon wanted to get back healthy, and it just had the most, traumatic injury, like, both physically and visually, right? Of the last, like, however many years. Like, when was the last time you saw somebody whose body was as busted as Gordon Hayward's was?
Right.
Like,
right.
And like, so everybody kind of understood, okay, Gordon Hayward wants this to be kind of his return year. Everybody understood Kyrie was looking at this team and thinking, okay, I finally get to run my own team. Everybody understood that Jaylen and Jayson and Terry felt like they belonged and felt like they deserved what they had last year. Everybody understood everything. It just was like, but there was too much happening. Like you couldn't all, because Gordon was right. Everybody was focused on their own thing as opposed to the team thing. And that was just kind of inevitable with that group. It was really bad luck, honestly.
At that point, the team thing was for the younger guys to step back, and
which would have been a disaster. You can't have the younger guys step back in that. Like they needed to develop superstar reps. Like,
but what needed to happen for that team to succeed, was the young guys needed to stop and be like, you guys stepped up, but also understand you're not going anywhere without Gordon Hayward getting right. So shut up about it and just let him get right. But they were too young to shut up about it.
Well, and you say you're not going anywhere, but that's not true. They knew that they could go somewhere. They had just seen it happen. Like you're not going anywhere unless Gordon Hayward gets right. I don't know, man. They just went to the finals.
Well, right. They went to the conference finals. They had right. I get it. But like, and that's why they thought we're not going to, like, of course we just did it. We can do it again. They didn't have that, the actual reality of, well, Gordon Hayward is on this team and he's one of your players and he's supposed to be one of your better players.
Yeah.
So either he gets right or he doesn't play. And he's not going to not play, but those guys were probably like Terry Rozier was like, actually, yeah, sit him down, sit him. Yeah. We don't need him, but actually you do need him like that. And this is where we get to the whole, like the young guys they were too young to understand that you couldn't just be like young and dumb and brash and be like, we just did it, we'll just do it again. Like, no, actually you're not. Because at that point, you would have become the Atlanta Hawks is what you would have become. Because that's what the Atlanta Hawks thought they had. They were like, hey, we just did it, we're going to do it again. And like, they haven't done it again. And so they're like, these guys are better than Trae Young, but they that attitude of like, we've done it once, we'll do it again. That was never going to work. Regardless, it's so funny how much passion this team, that 19 team brings out.
It was a wild time, man.
It was a wild time. Regardless, all of this stuff that we've been saying that we're talking about right now, that's all stuff that's been said. This is not the first time I've ever said this.
Yeah.
So, kudos to Gordon for coming out and I guess saying it out loud. Maybe it's the first time but it's nothing new. It's nothing new. But hey, I guess it's interesting enough to take the entire first segment of this podcast. That's all right. We've got a couple of topics to get to here. Some leftovers from the Oklahoma City Thunder game. That's going to be coming up in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, I'm a big proponent of therapy. I know how much therapy can work, but I also understand that therapy needs certain parameters, certain things to work. You need to like the therapist, and you need to be bought into the fact that you are doing this. And it's hard to buy in when the only therapists around are somebody within driving distance, somebody that your insurance accepts and all that stuff. It's hard to do all that stuff. So that's why BetterHelp is a great way to get started, because you're not shopping around, you're not driving around. It's all right there online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it doesn't click, you can switch. And that's the real hard part. If it doesn't click with somebody locally, then you're like, now where do I go? Well, on BetterHelp, you just go to the next person who is online there to talk to you however you need to be, seen, heard, whatever. It's very therapy, whether you need to talk through some things, get past a stressful time in your life, or deal with something longstanding. It's very important, I think, to find the right therapist. And so you go to BetterHelp, you fill out that questionnaire, you get matched. And now you can celebrate the progress that you've already made and go to betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You get 10% off your first month. You can make even more progress. So that's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. BetterHelp is a great way to get started on your journey. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Check out Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 national sports streaming channel, the first ever one on YouTube. Put it on, leave it on, and you'll just hear great discussion all day long, every day, about all the big stories in sports, all the big topics. It's a great way to avoid all the ESPN debate show madness. This is meaningful conversation everywhere on YouTube. All right, let's actually get to basketball being played today or yesterday, this week, by guys currently on this team. You look back on that game again, and I really thought, Tom, that for all of the third quarter was so horrible, and it was 40-25. They had plenty of opportunities in that third quarter. Down 10, they had plenty of shots. I can remember off the top of my head now, probably 4, 5, 6 different shots, somewhere in that down 10 range to get down 8s, to get into single digits. And whether it was offensive rebounds or good looks at the rim, and they just didn't fall. They had their chances in the third quarter to push it into single digits getting into the fourth, And maybe that goes a little bit differently if they do that. Bottom line, Tom, I come out of that game watching it again and thinking like it wasn't as bad as it seemed. They dared Josh Giddey to beat them, and he did. I think as much as SGA was the story of the game, Giddey going for 23 points and shooting 4 of 7 from 3 was the real killer, because him and Chet Holmgren hitting huge shots when the Celtics kind of made it their defensive strategy to be like, hey, we dare you to do what you're doing against, Porzingis, and dare Chet Holmgren against wings to try to put the ball on the floor and still be comfortable. And hey, to their credit, they hit. Those guys were combined 7 of 12, which is in a 7-game series. I'll run that back. I'll run that exact same defense back and say, I don't think Josh Giddey is shooting 57% for four wins in that series. So I think the Celtics can go back and look at that and be like, Jaylen sucked. Hey, off night. Drew sucked. Hey, off night. But those other guys, Holmgren and Giddey, were equally good, and SGA kind of outdueled Jayson Tatum in the long run. And hey, credit to them. But I come out of this watching it again thinking like, I'm again not really worried about that loss at all.
Yeah, not worried about the loss. I mean, I think I come away impressed by the Thunder, right? Like it's a really good team. Good young team. I think if you're looking at that team, not to keep bringing up, that era of Celtics basketball, but if you look at that team from kind of the perspective of, that kind of mid to late 20 teens, you know what I'm saying? Like that range, trade some of these picks, man. You can't use them all. If you try to use them all, you're going to be in trouble. Go. And I know like a lot of people are like, well, just, they've already got a good thing going. Don't mess it up. Don't make a trade. Totally. I hear you. They have too many picks though. So like if they use all those picks, that will also mess them up. So like, be proactive. I think when you've got a group like this, especially with a player as good as SGA is right now. But yeah, I mean, I think to me, the third quarter, certainly, I think you're right that there were opportunities there. I think to me, the place where the game was lost was at the start of the fourth, right? When you have SGA out and you can't, not only do you not make up any ground,
him and Holmgren.
Him and Holmgren. Yeah, exactly. Both those guys out and you lose ground. Like that's tough.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
Even if you lose the third quarter 40-25, if you gain 2 points instead of going down more, it's a different game. It's and there's little opportunities everywhere, right? Like Jaylen was 7 for 8 from the free throw line, but he had that one that he almost airballed, and it's like a minute 30 left, and it's like, if he makes that shot, Porzingis is 2, still makes it a 1-possession game, still gives the Celtics a chance to, if Kristaps Porzingis' foot doesn't grow quite to size 16, you've got, tons of little opportunities here and there. And I think, it's kind of funny because you talk about like a 7-game series against the Thunder, and it's like you are explicitly talking about the NBA Finals. If you talk
That's
about
true.
that.
That's true.
Which,
That's true.
Hey, not out of the question. This team is nasty. And there's a lot of teams in the Western Conference right now that just do not move me very much. But they're really good. In a finals situation, I think one of the things that's really interesting is how Tatum defended SGA. And now I don't think that would be the Celtics like plan from the jump, because you don't want Tatum to get in foul trouble. SGA is so slithery. It's like, that's a tough matchup. But if you need to slow him down for 6 minutes, if you need to slow him down for, like the fourth quarter of a game, you've got a big guy who's an excellent defender with a ton of length, a ton of versatility. I think the Celtics have a lot of answers for the Thunder that we didn't necessarily see last night. And that's fine. I'm right there with you. I think like it's a loss, and the Celtics team doesn't lose very much. And, I understand that can cause angst, but I mean, honestly, I kind of felt like Celtics fans were pretty reasonable last night. There was a lot of just like, damn, that's how you feel, SGA. Okay. All right. I see you. Like, sometimes you play a good team on the road who's got a superstar, their superstar goes off. Yeah. You might lose one. It's all right.
It's funny, in the aftermath of that, a clip was shared online of this Sloan Knows podcast, which first I ever heard of it, but this is this 15-year-old girl who gets NBA players to get on her podcast. Like, okay, that's very interesting. Good for her. And one of them was Drew Holiday before he got traded to Boston. And he was talking about all the guys he hates guarding. And he's like, yeah, I hate those little like guys who are smaller than me or who are really slithery. Guys like Kemba and Isaiah Thomas and Shai, hate guarding him. And you're like, oh yeah, I can see why, Drew Holiday, that you hate guarding him, because you got roasted in that game by him. Like,
because little guys who are slithery are tough enough, but when you've got a 6'7" guy who's slithery,
that's where you really,
he's so tough, man. He's so good.
Too tall for Holiday, and like just to deal with, too strong for Derek White to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's why Tatum was like, finally, like some resistance in front of him. That's tough. Like, that really is tough. I do wonder if the Celtics, if they ever were to face the Thunder in a series, in a finals, how much zone they might go against the Thunder there, because that's something to take away those drives for sure.
Yeah. I before you cut to break, I do want to say a shout out to my guy Corey, who I know listens to this podcast. Barber, Massachusetts. He would constantly tell me that he thought that they should trade Jayson Tatum for SGA, and I just was like, that's stupid. You're not going to do that. That's stupid. You're not going to do that. And like, I still don't think you trade Tatum for SGA, but it looks a lot less dumb now. Shout out Corey. SGA is awesome. Anyway.
All right, so not much more to be said about that. Let's look ahead, because the Celtics are coming home. They've got 2 days off, and then ping pong. It's going to be an interesting schedule. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Our good friends over at FanDuel have you covered with bonus bets. All you got to do is place any bet. So they're America's number one sportsbook, and they get that way by giving you new customers $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. All you got to do is place a $5 bet. So it's $150 whether you win or lose. So go check out the app, open it up, check out this very easy to use app with new tabs like the new Explore tab that lets you find new bets. You can play live same game parlays or make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays and more. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can see it at the bottom of your screen here on YouTube. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Sign up, make your first bet a layup, make that first $5 bet, and get your bonus bets. NFL season is wrapping up, but there's plenty of time to get in on the action. Obviously, we're in the middle of the NBA season. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL, and the best part about FanDuel is they have tools there to help you set your limits, set your parameters, and you can go ahead and gamble responsibly. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. When you're done, rotating hosts all week long, covering the league unlike anywhere else. So check out Locked On NBA where you get this podcast. Let's get back to Tom Westerholm and the discussion here about the Celtics back on the road here, heading over actually back home against Utah Friday night. And we're recording this, by the way, ahead of the Utah is playing Detroit. They start at 9:00. We're recording this before that game. NBA title belt, my favorite thing in the world. The Utah Jazz hold the belt. Either the Detroit Pistons are going to get the NBA belt, which is my favorite, which would be my favorite thing in the world for the Pistons. After all, if they get the NBA belt, that would be just absolutely amazing.
That's the preferred outcome, certainly.
I would love it. But if they don't, Utah comes into the game against Boston with the belt, so the Celtics have their chance. Either way, Tom.
One of your best bits. Honestly, one of your best bits. And honestly, it should, like, okay, if Adam Silver is going to listen to Bill Simmons and he's going to do like a whole like in-season tournament, the belt is so much lower lift, and it should be. I mean,
how cool would it be to actually have an NBA belt, like a championship belt. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about how like all the like you could even put like a tiny amount of money on it. You know what I mean? Like, like
Sure.
you like the belt changes hands, the team that gets it, or you could say like if you keep it for a while, you could like every game that you keep the belt, you get X number of dollars, like, little ways
Yeah.
to spruce it up. Plus,
Sure.
these guys are hyper competitive. It's one of your best ideas. It should really
Thank
happen.
you. Thank you. So people who don't know, the NBA belt is the champs come into the season with the belt, and each night after that, if they go undefeated, they keep the belt.
Yeah.
But each night they play, they defend the belt, and when they lose, the team that beats them gets the belt. It's just as simple. Denver came in as champs. They lost it to, I think, Minnesota, and Minnesota held it for a while. And like, it's a good way to it really kind of does give you a sense of the league a little bit by the end of its run. So I think it would be super amazing to just if Utah came in and if the refs held up the belt before the game and say, and tonight's matchup is an NBA belt championship game, hold up the belt like they do in boxing and stuff, and then just even like ring a bell before they do the jump ball. Like that would be so much fun. And then the team gets to do the post game with the belt like on the podium.
I need, like, after watching Bill Kennedy like make his calls for like the challenges, and when just how much he enjoyed that.
Man.
I need Bill Kennedy holding up the belt and announcing tonight's belt is for the winner. Like, I need it so bad. That'd be so fun.
That's kind of low-key good Bill Kennedy impression. All right. So anyway, Utah has the potential to come in Friday night with the belt. Former belt holders, Indiana Pacers, two back-to-back, not back-to-back, but two in Indy. So they go Saturday, they play Saturday and Monday, home against Minnesota, back-to-back home road, which sucks, against Milwaukee, day off, home against Houston, day off, road against Toronto, day off, home against San Antonio, day off, home against Denver, day off, back-to-back Houston, Dallas. It's looking at this schedule, Tom, there are like Utah, Indy is good, but like beatable. San Antonio, we just saw. Houston, we haven't seen yet, but they're not great. There are winnable games here, a couple of tough games, but also very winnable games. But this ping-ponging back and forth really takes a toll on a team.
It does. And we've seen the Celtics tested with a lot of games in a row before this season, and they passed with flying colors, right? What we haven't necessarily seen is them traveling around as much. You know what I mean? Like that the ping-ponging is new. That'll be a new one to kind of keep an eye on and to kind of see like, okay, how do they respond to this? Because this is going to be tough. And, they've done an awesome job so far this season. They've, built themselves a little bit of a lead, but like, it's not like insurmountable at this stage. You know what I mean? There's like a lot of, there's so much season left to play, and like, a tough stretch here. I mean, last year's team started really hot and, like ended up not getting the 1 seed. Like, this is the kind of stretch that can kind of make or break that. Like, you could, you go on a little bit of a losing streak here. You could, for sure, like, or not even a losing streak. You go 500 over a certain amount of games. Bucks stay hot. All of a sudden, you're not in first. You're a couple games back of first. Like, that could certainly happen. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a really important stretch, and I think even it's less an important stretch based on, like, I think what we've seen so far is that this team is a contender. This team is no questions asked. They're awesome.
Yeah.
They've got all the pieces. They've got all the horses. They're good to go. You have a squad. What you're curious about now, right, is like, do they like parlay that into the 1 seed? And so like the questions now aren't like, can this team contend? Is this team as good as Team X, Team Y? They are. They're as good, if not better, than whatever team you throw out there. Question is just like, will they have home court the whole way through? And I'm interested to see that.
It's that attitude that you just described that makes this month kind of, I don't want to say scary, but potentially difficult.
Yeah.
Because they are contenders. We know that. They have established this. Even the loss to OKC doesn't really matter. When the playoffs roll around, they will be one of a handful of teams, a small, very few teams. That team will be like, that team is is probably going to win a championship, right? Like that team can win a championship here. Nothing over January or February is going to change necessarily where they can be. Now the question is, do they come out here with the same mental process? Joe Mazzulla talks about the mentality. Can you hang on to, this is the hardest thing. Honestly, the hardest thing a team will face in the NBA schedule is this January, when you're already good, when you've already established yourself, and now there's kind of, I don't want to say nothing to play for because there's plenty to play for.
And Joe would yell at you.
Right. But also, everybody's aware how good you are. So first seed, second seed, third, do you need to be home for it? I mean, they're perfect at home, so it'd be nice, but they can win on the road. So they've proven they can win on the road. So all you got to do is win one, and then you've got home court advantage, and they're perfect at home. So whatever they get, whatever happens here, there's no urgency necessarily built into the schedule. They have to find their urgency. They have to, every one of these games, they have to find something to latch onto that makes them play the right way for the entire game and not give into, okay, I'm a little bit bored. Okay, I'm a little bit tired and banged up. So I'm going to go 90% of what I did versus the 100% that I was going. And that 10% is why you don't hold off a closing run versus closing out a team that they've been able to close out. That's the challenge of this month.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's impressed me most about this Celtics team is their ability to do that so far, right? Like
exactly, yeah.
You go 5-0 in that brutal homestand, like that tough homestand. You rip right through that, and then you go on a West Coast trip and you go 3-1 against a bunch of good teams. Wow,
that was impressive.
You know, like that's exactly what you're talking about, right? That's gritting your teeth and just kind of like finding something every night. And okay, now tonight we're playing the Clippers. Like let's here's all the reasons we want to beat the Clippers tonight. We're etc. And yeah, I think one of the things that has impressed me most about Joe Mazzulla's coaching this year is that he does seem to have his kind of he's got kind of a handle on that. I feel like this year he's got kind of like a he's been able to speak to his team in ways that have gotten them up for games, that have reminded them not to be complacent, that have said like, okay, absolutely, let's try to win this in-season tournament. Okay, we didn't win it. Okay, let's win the next game. Okay, let's win it. Let's keep winning, even though we don't have the in-season tournament to play for, even though we don't have, I think I'm curious to see how long he can keep that going. Because if he can keep that going all year, then, this is a championship team. Or if he can, keep that going in, mostly, right? Because nobody's going to be perfect the whole way through. But like, you keep that up all season, this team's really tough. And I think he's done a really good job so far. He's done it longer than they did last year. Like this stretch feels more sustainable than the, 80% 3-point shooting that they did last year. Like this is real good basketball that we're seeing. And yeah, it'd be cool to see that through January.
It would be cool. So 16 games here in January. What do we got? 5, 8 home, 8 road. Okay. Unfortunately no more than 2 games. Oh no, actually 3 in a row to end the month. So the last week and a half of January is 3 in a row on the road, 3 in a row at home. So it's kind of interesting. I didn't even realize this as I look at it. It's like they go 1-1 and then it's like 2-2 and then 3. So anyway, if they come out of this and they're 16 games in January, they already lost 1 here to Oklahoma City. I think if they come out of this like 10-6, 11-5, I kind of would be happy with it. I think that would be a pretty good month. I don't know if that's going to where they would be at the end of it. And then, you head into February with that's actually that 3 games at home to end January is part of a 7-game homestand where the Celtics could get, they could pile up some wins here heading into the All-Star break. I think if they come out of this, I'll say 11-5. So 4 more losses the rest of the way, 10-6, 5 more losses the rest of the way. Maybe you split Indiana, the back-to-back against Milwaukee. I can see a second loss there. Let's give Denver the benefit of the doubt and maybe say so it's 3, and then maybe there's one more along the way. I think 11-5 would be I think that's doable. That's the target for me.
Yeah, I mean 11-5 is a good month. Kind of, it's a pretty decent month. Full stop. Right? Like
yeah.
Whoever you are, if you go 11-5 in a month, that's pretty good. So yeah, I think, I
guess we're just spoiled. Spoiled by them just going
this,
2 losses in December.
That's what I was just gonna say. They've lost 7 games so far. So yeah, if you're saying but this team has spoiled everybody. But that's what happens when you're arguing about whether Derek White or Kristaps Porzingis is your. Well, I don't even know who's like when your starting lineup is this loaded. Yes, you get spoiled very quickly, I think is the point here.
I think we're done spoiling our listeners with this tremendously amazing, awesome podcast, at least 2/3 of which was current.
Yeah. Listen, we went so long, probably more.
Yeah. All right, Tom, appreciate you as always. Thank you very
man.
much. And I want to thank everybody here for listening, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Back tomorrow. Celtics are practicing on Thursday. So by the time you're listening to this, I might be at the practice facility. I'll take a new picture for my background at the practice facility. So we'll see what the Celtics say there. I'll talk about it tomorrow on the podcast there. And then I'll be back with a podcast for you Friday night after the Utah game, Saturday night after the Indiana game, then all next week minus Friday because they play Saturday. So it's going to be basically 13 out of 14 days of podcasts here. No one else is giving you this many podcasts, this much Celtics content. So check it out. Make sure you're subscribed and watching the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section. All of you everydayers, I love the fact that you're here with me on a regular basis. Now, please share the podcast, spread the word, tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.